Amane is a hopeless loser who lives a lonely life. However, his sad existence takes a turn when he saves his beautiful neighbor from depression using his accidental Rizz. Now, she's falling deeply in love with him, giving him the true happiness he always longed for. One rainy day on his way home, Amane saw the most popular baddie in his school named Mahiru sitting in the rain. At first, he wanted to walk away because he didn't have the confidence to talk to her, but when he noticed she was crying, he decided to help her. He gave her his umbrella, telling her to take it so she wouldn't catch a cold. The next day at school, Amane caught a cold because he had walked home in the rain. Just then, Mahiru walked by the classroom, and everyone immediately lost it like she was some celebrity, and most of them called her an angel. This prompted Amane to wonder how someone so popular, smart, and good at everything could remain so humble, but despite every hormonal guy in the school would love to date her, a Chad like him wouldn't. He also recalled how she was sad the previous day and wondered what must have caused it. Later that day, a sick Amane arrived at his apartment and found Mahiru waiting at the door to return his umbrella. At first, he tried to act nonchalant and refused to take it back. As they talked, Mahiru realized he had a fever because of her and offered her help, but he grabbed the umbrella and attempted to walk into his house, telling her not to worry. Suddenly, he almost collapsed like a Disney princess, losing all his aura, which prompted Mahiru to help him out. When they got in, she almost choked in terror when she saw his garbage dump of an apartment.
Brother,
But she managed to bear it. A few hours later, Amane woke up in his room and found her watching over him. She explained that he had fallen asleep and that she had made him some food, but she added that he needed to check his temperature before eating. The moment he pulled up his shirt to place the thermometer, she got flustered, and at that moment, Amane realized she looked quite cute. After tasting the food, Amane was shocked by how good the food tasted, and when he had eaten the meal, he asked why she had been crying in the rain the previous day, wondering if her boyfriend had dumped her. She avoided the question, stating she did not have or need a boyfriend. He was shocked since she was an A-rank baddie who half of the school probably gooned to every night. When he suggested she probably had multiple simps in her DMs, she immediately flared up. Going on the defensive, she snapped that she wasn't the kind of girl to jump from sausage to sausage. When Mahiru apologized for making him sick, he said it wasn't her fault and told her to use the door since he felt better. His Mr. Nonchalant attitude surprised her, and she said all the guys she ever talked to instantly went on simp mode and wanted to date her. Hearing this, Bro said he'd rather eat cold pasta than waste his time on the school's angel, but she stopped him saying she hated the nickname. The next evening, Mahiru was surprised to find Amane on his balcony drinking an energy drink for dinner. She claimed he needed good food to recover well, and then a few seconds later, she showed up at his door with some leftovers. When she said she hated his pathetic lifestyle of eating trash, Amane accepted the food and teasingly called her an angel, but he quickly apologized when he saw her getting mad at the name. The next day, Amane returned the containers and thanked her. He was surprised when she offered him another home-cooked meal, so he politely declined. However, she insisted, claiming she had made more than enough. Amane pointed out that cooking for someone usually implied deeper feelings, but Mahiru denied having any feelings for him, wished him goodbye, and left. Shortly after that encounter, she began cooking for him on a daily basis. A few days later, Mahiru visited him and found him completely overwhelmed trying to clean his apartment. At first, she scolded him for letting it get so bad, but she eventually offered to help him clean his refuse dump. He reluctantly agreed, and Mahiru immediately went into full housewife mode, sorting everything from plastic bottles to underwear while tidying the room. As they cleaned, Mahiru suddenly tripped, and Amane's attempt to catch her made them land in a Seuss position. After a whole day of cleaning, Amane offered to treat her to some pizza. As they were about to eat, Mahiru revealed she had never tried pizza before because she grew up with a housekeeper who cooked all her meals. After trying a slice, Mahiru realized she liked it. When it was time to head home, Amane asked why she always cooked for him, and she simply replied that she enjoyed cooking for people and told him not to attach any romantic meaning to it before wishing him a good night. The next day, Amane found Mahiru sitting in the park. After discovering she had fur all over her clothes, he asked if she had been playing with a pet. He soon realized she had hurt her ankle while rescuing a cat from a tree. He told her to wait, after which he left briefly and returned with a cold compress and a first aid kit. He then asked her to remove her tights, which made her wonder if he wanted to do Seuss things, but he promised not to look. Once she took them off, he told her not to get mad because he was about to use his gifted hands on her legs. After treating the injury, he informed her that he would have to carry her back. He then gave her his jacket to cover herself up so she wouldn't be recognized, then carried her home on his back while holding her soft bunions. When they arrived at the apartment complex, Mahiru thanked him for his help and for lending her his track pants. The next day at school during sports period, Itsuki teased Amane for wearing shorts and asked why he was displaying his dry thighs no one cared to look at. Just then, some girls interrupted them to cheer for a random guy on their team, calling him the prince. At that same moment, Amane noticed Mahiru smiling at him from the stands. That night, she returned his clothes and brought him a food pack for dinner. After she thanked him, Amane teased her about her popularity, mentioning that her smile had caused a lot of stiff rods at the stadium that day. Mahiru acknowledged she was attractive, but explained she didn't think too much about it because beauty didn't mean everything. Just then, he noticed a specific dish in the pack that he really liked. After thanking her, he remarked that he wished he could have eaten it fresh. However, Mahiru misunderstood and thought he was trying to come over to her place for some handiwork. After he cleared up the misunderstanding, she offered to cook it for him if they split the cost of the ingredients. though she warned him she would stomp his balls if he tried anything funny. She added that, unlike most guys she knew, he didn't constantly bother her, making her assume he wasn't into surfboards like her. Some days later, she came over to cook the special dish and expressed surprise that his kitchen and cookware looked barely used. She quickly activated waifu mode and began cooking, while Amani just stared at her, thinking that he might have found the perfect wife. However, she sensed his virgin energy piercing her soul and advised him to ensure the shield hero doesn't rise from his pants. Once the meal was ready, Amane thoroughly enjoyed it and praised her cooking, which made Mahiru incredibly happy. Seeing her smile, Amane almost folded like paper. While they washed the dishes after dinner, he asked if it was truly okay for them to eat together every day, repeating the idea that girls only cooked for guys they were in a relationship with. In response, Mahiru said she only saw him as an abandoned, underfed puppy that needed helping, so it was alright. The next day at school, Itsuki chatted with Amane after a test, asking how he did and wondering how he always managed to land in the top 30. Amane jokingly replied that unlike Itsuki, he did not spend all his time managing a girlfriend. Just then, Itsuki's girlfriend, a sheik named Chitose, suddenly walked in. Itsuki began to pat her on the head like a pet puppy, causing Amane to call them shameless. Though Itsuki insisted such public displays of affection were normal in a relationship. That evening after dinner, Amane saw Mahiru grading her test results. When he asked about them, he was surprised to learn she had achieved a perfect score and was studying a year ahead of the class. When Mahiru noted that he also read a lot, he explained that, unlike her, maintaining good grades was the strict condition his parents gave him to live alone in the apartment. Mahiru denied that it was the same for her, and sadly revealed she studied hard because she felt she had to, which surprised him. As she packed her bag to head home, Amane noticed her ID card on the floor. He saw her birthday was only 4 days away and handed the card back to her before wishing her a good night. The next day, because he was a virgin, with zero dating experience, he casually tried to find out what she wanted as a gift. Mahiru merely told him she wanted a new sharpening stone for her kitchen knives, which completely weirded him out. The following day at school, he consulted Itsuki, who advised him to do some research, but ultimately recommended buying hand cream. Later, as they walked home, Chitose was shocked that Amane was buying a gift for a girl. She wanted to know who it was so she could offer better advice, but Amane refused to tell her. Instead, he just asked her to recommend anything that would make a girl happy. Chitose then suggested getting a thoughtful, cute gift like jewelry or a stuffed bear. Not wanting to be seen carrying a teddy bear like a child, Amane begged Chitose to accompany him to buy it. Although Chitose agreed, she demanded he bribe her with some snacks first. On the night of Mahiru's birthday, Amane gave her the present, but she initially refused it, stating she had never celebrated her birthday. However, he pressed it on her anyway, explaining it was a token of gratitude for everything she did for him. Upon opening the package, Mahiru saw the hand cream and thanked him. When she pulled out the teddy bear, he cringed and told her she could throw it away if she didn't like it. To his surprise, Mahiru told him she loved the gifts, revealing she had never received a birthday present before. Amane found this shocking, thinking that school simps should have buried her in gifts by now, but she cutely explained that she had never told anyone her birthday and always felt uneasy about taking gifts from strangers. She then thanked him warmly, and the sight made Amane want to pat her on the head, but he remembered she might crush his twin jewels if he moved funny. The next morning, Amane's mother paid him a surprise visit. At the door, he tried to get her to leave immediately, but his mother just teased him for having no Rizz, pointing out that this was no way to talk to women. After threatening to kick him out, she pushed her way inside. She began inspecting the apartment, hoping to catch him doing something weird, but she was surprised to find the place unusually clean. She even noted that his skin was glowing, which meant he was eating well. Right when his mother had first knocked on the door, Amane had told Mahiru to hide in his bedroom, while he distracted his mom, giving her a chance to run back to her own apartment next door. However, Amane's mom decided she wanted to check his bedroom. He protested, claiming he had some adult magazines he didn't want her to see, but she ignored him entirely and pushed open the door, only to find Mahiru dozing off beside the bed. She immediately began to tease him, saying she didn't know he had the game to pull a fine baddie like that. He tried to explain they weren't dating, but she pointed out that girls only went into the rooms of guys they actually liked. However, Amane said that he only liked her strictly as a friend. At that point, their yapping woke Mahiru up, so Amane begged her to clear up the misunderstanding. After they introduced themselves, Amane's mom, Shihoko, began to tease Mahiru as well, calling her his girlfriend. Mahiru clarified that she had only been cooking dinner for Amane because he couldn't cook to save his own life. This made Shihoko incredibly grateful, and she thanked Mahiru for taking care of him just like a supportive girlfriend would. Mahiru got flustered, and Amane simply signaled for her to give up on the explanation. After a while, they sat down to enjoy a drink, and Shihoko curiously asked if they were living together. This caused Amane to defensively snap that Mahiru lived next door. Just then, Shihoko focused on Mahiru and proclaimed that although her son was a scatterbrain with the IQ of a milk carton, he was actually a good catch as a boyfriend, even if he had never dated anyone before. This made Amane cringe, and he furiously told his mother to leave. She agreed to let them return to their secret tickle sessions, but she made sure to collect Mahiru's phone number before she left. Later that evening, Amane complained to Mahiru that his mom liked her and would probably be bugging her from then on. However, Mahiru didn't mind. She said that it was nice he had a kind, warm warm mother who doted on him like that. He noticed that she looked sad as she spoke, and when he asked why, she revealed that, unlike his mom who had been spamming her name earlier, her own parents had never called her by her first name. Feeling sorry for her, Amani called her by her first name, Mahiru, which shocked her and eventually made her smile. In turn, she called him Amane as well, though she warned him that they shouldn't refer to each other so casually in public. At that moment, Mahiru tried to return his house key, but Amane refused to take it back, using the excuse of being too lazy to always open the door when she came knocking. When Mahiru insisted that it was unsafe to give out his house key so freely, he told her that he trusted her completely, much to her surprise. This convinced her to keep the key, though she warned him that he might one day come home and find the house cleaned and the fridge full. The next day at school, Amani noticed on the bulletin board that Mahiru had achieved the best score on their test yet again. While other students called her a genius, he silently noted that they simply didn't know how hard she actually worked. That evening, Mahiru found a cake in his fridge. When she asked him about it, he explained that he bought it to celebrate her placing top of the class. This shocked her because she viewed her own performance as nothing special, but he insisted she worked incredibly hard and deserved a treat. After sharing it, Mahiru took a bite and immediately loved it, leaving Amani to just stare at her as she ate. Just then, she offered him a forkful of cake. He hesitated at first, but she insisted he try it, prompting him to shyly eat from her fork. In return, Amani took a spoonful of cake and fed her as well. After she ate it, she began to blush and thanked him for the special treat. The next day, Amani went shopping to make lunch for himself, thinking Mahiru's cooking had spoiled him rotten. On his way home, he met Mahiru, who felt he wasn't confident in the kitchen and would accidentally brew an undead potion, so she offered to supervise him while he cooked. When he finally finished preparing the meal, he was panting as if he had just run a marathon. Meanwhile, Mahiru ate a bit of the food and told him it tasted like the physical manifestation of disappointment, so she handed him a meal she had made to taste as a proper example. She then began to wonder if learning how to cook meant he would no longer need her services. To her surprise, Amani told her that he would always want to eat any meal she prepared. This caused her to relax, and she told him he could continue to learn by helping her out sometimes. The next day at school, Chitose tried to convince Amani to let them throw a Christmas party at his house since he was a loner. Just then, she remembered the gift he had bought previously and asked about it. Amani admitted it was actually for his neighbor, who occasionally cooked meals for him. After clarifying that he was indeed single, Chitose kept insisting on throwing the party at his place. After thinking it over for a bit, he finally agreed, but he pinched her cheeks for calling him a single Pringle. Itsuki jokingly said he was the only one allowed to pinch those cheeks, which he then did, much to Chitose's delight. That evening, Amane informed Mahiru of the upcoming Christmas party, telling her that Itsuki and Chitose would be coming over on the 24th. He then asked how she would fare being alone, but she told him she was used to being lonely. When Amane suggested they should hang out together on Christmas Day instead, Mahiru added that she wanted to spend Christmas playing video games on the console with him. At the Christmas party, Chitose and Itsuki were being incredibly lovey-dovey. They noticed that the apartment looked much better and possessed a woman's touch, which stunned Amane. He tried to switch topics by telling them to stop playing house in his apartment, so Chitose decided to gossip about how Mahiru had recently turned down some guys who asked her out. She added how she felt sorry for those guys, but was thankful he only cared about his neighbor and not the school's angel. Suddenly, she noticed it was snowing outside and suggested they go out to the balcony. Unfortunately for Amane, they found Mahiru standing right there, and they suddenly realized that his waifu neighbor was actually the school's angel. At Amane's place shortly afterwards, Mahiru apologized because it was now exposed that she was his neighbor, but he told her not to blame herself because it was not her fault. Meanwhile, Chitose was completely surprised that the school's angel was actually his neighbor, and she and Itsuki soon began to recall that Amane had been talking about his neighbor a lot lately. This prompted Mahiru to explain how her concern for his trashy eating habits had originally drawn them closer. After hearing her story, Itsuki concluded that Mahiru was undergoing waifu training for Amane, which cringed them both out. On hearing this, Mahiru immediately shot down the thought, telling him it was not remotely possible, and Amane also agreed with her. However, Itsuki and Chitose pointed out that his face said otherwise, which made Mahiru smile. Although they promised to keep the situation a secret, Chitose added that no one would ever believe a cutie like Mahiru was actually cooking dinner for a loser like Amane anyway. Soon, Chitose began examining Mahiru up close and started fangirling over how flawless her features looked. Amane, on the other hand, warned her to stop getting handsy because she was making Mahiru uncomfortable, noting that she was always uneasy around strangers. He then apologized to Mahiru, explaining that Chitose was just a freak who liked touching things. To break the ice, Chitose asked Mahiru to be her friend and introduced herself as Itsuki's girlfriend and Amane's close friend. Soon, the couple began to tease Mahiru and Amane as if they were already a couple, but Mahiru told them that Amane was not interested in her as a girlfriend, to which Amane agreed. Chitose then changed the subject to cooking, sharing with Mahiru that Itsuki always ate her own meals with a smile, despite the fact that her cooking wasn't actually that good. Later that night, after their guests had gone, Amane apologized to Mahiru for his friend's weird behavior and told her to feel free to smack Chitose if she ever acted up again. Just then, Mahiru noticed that it was snowing heavily and wished aloud that it wouldn't affect transportation the next day. She then got up to fetch the beef soup she had cooked earlier, leaving him alone, so he silently wished that their secret as neighbors hadn't been exposed to their friends. During dinner, Amane ate the meal like a starved puppy who hadn't eaten in weeks, while Mahiru watched him and smiled. When he finished, she told him that he always looked incredibly happy when he ate, and he admitted that her cooking was just that delicious. Later on, while they were washing the dishes, he asked how she had learned to cook so many different meals. Mahiru revealed that someone special had taught her, though she claimed she was nowhere near her tutor's level, describing her teacher's food as tasting like pure joy. At that point, Amani told her that her own cooking made him feel joyful too. This stunned her and made her blush, and when he asked if she was alright, she explained that no one had ever said something like that to her before, thanking him as he began to blush as well. The next day, being Christmas, Mahiru was playing a game on Amani's console and almost crashed out when her character died in the game. Seeing her struggle, Amani unconsciously took her hands in his to direct her movements. He suddenly realized he was holding her hands and began to apologize, but she told him she wasn't bothered and had just been taken by surprise. Later, as she began playing a racing game, Amani started backseat driving, telling her to stop leaning her body as she turned. As he watched her, he realized she looked really cute. Suddenly, she leaned a bit too much and fell right onto his lap, landing close to his meat packet, which caused her to fold. As she freaked out, Amani started laughing loudly until she called him out, thinking he was making fun of her. However, Amani honestly told her that she looked incredibly cute. She didn't know how to process the compliment, and so she began hitting his legs, which almost made him get a nosebleed. After a while, she finally won a race, and when he praised her, she smiled so beautifully that Mahiru glitched for some seconds. Once he recovered, he got up and handed her a Christmas present. When she opened it, she found a keychain, so he told her she could use it for his house key if she wanted to. Mahiru was impressed and told him he actually had good style. She then revealed that his mother had sent her some childhood pictures of him a while back, noting that he used to have a way better fashion sense compared to his current look, where he essentially dressed like a school janitor. Mahiru then placed her hand on his hair and pulled it to the side, telling him he looked handsome when his bangs weren't hiding his face. In return, Amani pulled her hair aside, and they stared into each other's eyes like brain-dead dummies for a while. Later that day, Amani admired a scarf she had given him and thanked her for it, while adding that she smiled much more easily now than when they first met. When he told her how much he genuinely liked the gift, Mahiru began to blush. She covered his face with the scarf to prevent him from seeing her flustered expression, but he pulled it away and asked why she was embarrassed. However, she ignored his question entirely and stepped out onto the balcony to stare up at the stars. Immediately, Amani followed her outside and wrapped his coat around her so she wouldn't catch a cold. When Mahiru said he should join her, she was also worried he'd catch a cold, but he told her not to bother about it. He then took a moment to thank her for taking such good care of him over the last 2 months. The next day, Amani noticed that Mahiru was looking visibly ill. After checking her temperature, they discovered she had a high fever. Refusing to allow her to overwork herself, Amani attempted to carry her waifu style to the bedroom, despite her loud protests. They eventually came to an agreement that she would sleep in his bedroom until she fully recovered. After making her take her medication and lie down, Amani tried to get her to fall asleep. He apologized, blaming her sudden fever on himself, but she insisted it was her own fault for standing out in the cold the previous evening. As he turned to leave the room, Mahiru tightly clung to his clothes. Moved by her vulnerability, he decided to stay by her side, holding her hand until she finally fell asleep. The next day, he came back in to check up on her and offered to make her some rice porridge. After she finished eating, he noticed she looked incredibly sad the moment he prepared to leave. Instead of walking away, he pulled up a chair and sat right back down with her, telling her he would stay and talk with her until she fell asleep again. Mahiru then confided in him, confessing that nobody had ever looked after her like this before and that she was always completely alone whenever she was sick at home. Amani reassured her that he would always be there for her, adding that he simply hated seeing the people he spent his time with fall ill. He even offered to remain by her side through the rest of the day and gave her his hand to hold while she rested. She got all tomato red as she took it, and as she drifted off to sleep, Amani looked at her and finally realized that he was falling hard for her. On New Year's Day, after she had recovered, they were at his apartment wishing each other a happy new year when Itsuki chatted him up and wished him a happy new year. Just then, he got another message from his parents telling him that they would be visiting him in 2 days. Just as he was about to inform her, he realized that she had fallen asleep on his shoulder and remembered that she had spent a lot of time cooking for the new year and was probably tired. Amani then tried to wake her up, but she ended up falling across his thighs, which sent his pulse into overdrive. As she slept on him, Amani fought his inner demons and thought of how to wake her up. At first, he considered scaring her by shouting out, but decided against rudely waking her up. Then he thought about taking her to her apartment, but didn't want to search her body for the key. He later decided to place her on his bed while he slept on the couch, thinking of how shocked she would be in the morning. The next day, Amani was surprised that she still hadn't woken up. When he went to wake her up, he thought about how easily she dropped her guard to sleep and how cute she was while she did. Bro finally lost it and reached down to softly caress her cheeks with his hands, and she instinctively rubbed her cheeks against his fingers like a cat. When she finally woke up, she was stunned that she was in his room, so he explained that although she pulled a Snow White, he had been a perfect gentleman while she slept. This caused Mahiru to blush like a tomato as she covered her face shyly. She then asked him if he had a cheek fetish and reminded him that he had touched her cheeks on Christmas Day, and then just now. On hearing this, Amane was surprised and asked if she had been pretending to sleep. This sent her into overdrive as she struggled to explain that she had just woken up and that she had trusted him not to do anything weird. Amani then teased her, asking what would happen if he made a romantic move, which made her cringe and hide under his bed covers. Later that morning, Amani's parents parents came to visit him. While at the door, he noticed a suitcase that his mother told him had special goodies for them. Soon after, she began asking after Mahiru, and when he told her she was inside, his mother went in to meet her. While inside, his dad introduced himself to Mahiru as Shuto Fujimiya and thanked her for looking after Amani, telling her Shikoko had told him everything about her. Mahiru introduced herself, telling him that Amani had also been helpful to her. Shuto, glad that Amani was in good hands, told her to look out for him and to scold him if he did anything weird. However, Mahiru defended him, calling him an absolute gentleman, and inwardly noted that he effortlessly looked handsome. After Mahiru had served them a drink, Shikoko noticed that they had become closer, so she began to tease Amani and told him that at least his bloodline wasn't in danger anymore. At that point, Amani's dad told her to give him some room and not tease him to death, although that was why he fell in love with her in the first place, and soon they began a cheesy love conversation. Meanwhile, Mahiru told Amani that she was surprised his parents were close, and Amani chipped in, telling her that they were worse while they were at home. Just then, Amani's mother suggested that they visit the shrine to make wishes for the new year. She told Mahiru how she always wanted to take her daughter to the shrine and revealed that she bought a kimono just for her to wear. Amani agreed to it only if Mahiru wanted to go, but when his mom also said he was coming, he immediately shut down the idea, telling her that he didn't want his classmates to see him and Mahiru outside together. However, his mom then suggested a disguise. That afternoon, Amani's dad dressed him up in a suit and told him he looked quite handsome, even though he could be quite rowdy at times, and sincerely asked him if he liked living here, which prompted Amani to reply that he did. Just then, Mahiru walked in dazzlingly in a kimono and immediately stun-locked Amani, making him stare like he had lost all his brain cells. But after being instructed by his mother, he told Mahiru that she looked good, which disappointed his mother by his lack of Rizz. Later, while his parents went to get the car ready, Amani complimented Mahiru, telling her she looked really cute and beautiful at the same time. After being hit by his insane Rizz, she immediately tried to compliment him as well, but shyly whispered in his ear that he looked good as well in a suit before walking away. That afternoon at the temple, Mahiru turned heads and hardened sausages as she walked to the shrine because of how cute she was in the kimono. Oblivious to the effect she had on them, she stopped walking because her kimono was a bit uncomfortable and was suddenly knocked from behind. However, Amani caught her in time and offered her his hand to hold while they walked. After praying at the shrine, Amani asked what she had wished for, and she told him she had asked for good health and more peaceful days like these. Soon afterwards, his parents told them it was time to leave. Later that afternoon at a shop close to the shrine, Amani was drinking some sake while Mahiru had some red bean wine. Then he decided that he wanted to try her drink and asked her to exchange cups with him, but surprisingly, she was flustered and started acting weird. After an awkward exchange, he finally realized that exchanging cups could also mean them unofficially kissing. This made him flustered as well, but at that point he remembered that Chitose always drank Itsuki's juice and pointed out to Mahiru that as long as they were just friends, it shouldn't matter. Convinced by the idea that they were only friends, Mahiru drank the sake from the cup. Earlier in the day, Amani's parents had made him promise to visit them later in the summer with Mahiru. His dad had told Mahiru that despite the fact that he acted like a train wreck, Amani was actually a good kid and wished that they would remain friends. At that point, Mahiru told them she had noticed his good qualities and that she would remain friends with Amani too. Later that day, Amani told her that she didn't need to flatter him like that in front of his parents, but she told him that she actually meant what she said about his good personality, which left him stunned. That night, when they returned home, Amani apologized for the stressful day, but Mahiru told him that she actually had fun today with his parents. This touched Amani, who subconsciously patted her head like a puppy. Mahiru was not used to this, so she asked what he was doing and told him not to mess up her hair. The moment he said he'd stop, she folded and allowed him to continue. However, when he told her she was the only girl that he would pat on the head, she ran off blushing. Just as she got to her door, she stopped and called him a dummy, leaving him confused. Some days later at school, Amani overheard his classmates gossip that Mahiru had a cute boyfriend whom people had seen holding hands at the shrine on New Year's Day. As they talked about it, Itsuki teased Amani that he might actually be cute if he cut his bangs. Later that day, he spoke with Mahiru about the rumors, but she told him no one recognized him, and she had to tell people that he was just an acquaintance while she hoped the rumor would die down. Then she curiously asked if they had really looked like a real couple, and Amani decided to spill the garbage he was thinking and said he couldn't see someone like him as her boyfriend. His dumb reply got her angry, and she scolded him for having such a low opinion of himself, adding that he could probably bag a baddie if he had the balls to approach any. Her honest outburst surprised him, so he thanked her for her genuine compliments. He then excused himself to wash the dishes, and while he left Mahiru alone, she began to cringe that she had broken her tsundere act. The next day, Chitose came to ask Amani for some advice regarding Valentine's Day, but Amani, being a virgin, told her that he didn't care about it. However, the Seuss girl glanced at Mahiru, who was in the kitchen, and smiled back at him. When she asked him for chocolate suggestions that she could gift to Itsuki for Valentine's Day, he told her that Mahiru would be a better person to ask. She told him that she wanted a man's opinion on it, but she doubted if he was a man because he hadn't made a move on Mahiru. Mahiru overheard this and blushed, which prompted Amani to quickly remind Chitose that they weren't in a relationship. At that point, Chitose was simply surprised at his restraint and commended his upbringing. Meanwhile, Amani thought about how being around Mahiru had been causing blood flow to his second head recently, but he hadn't acted on his urges because he respected her. Later, while they had tea, Chitose Chitose asked Amane what type of chocolate he wanted for Valentine's Day. He nonchalantly told her he didn't want anything too sweet, just something that was edible. Next, she asked Mahiru if she was going to give anyone chocolates on Valentine's Day, but Mahiru told her that she was only going to give them to her girlfriends because giving them to guys might cause problems for her. Chitose then playfully told her that she would give her some really sweet chocolates, unlike Amane, who would be getting sour candy for being too dense. On Valentine's Day in Amane's classroom, one random dude called Yuta had been getting chocolates from a lot of baddies, which made the other guys in the classroom envious. When Itsuki saw this, he was angry that some guys had it easy. Then he informed Amane that Chitose had prepared some chocolates for him as well and told him to brace himself because she had made them with a lot of spicy pepper. As Amane wondered how wicked she could get, Itsuki carefully asked if Mahiru was going to get him a gift, to which he replied he didn't know. Later that afternoon, Chitose came and gifted him the spicy chocolate, assuring him that he would like it, and then she grabbed Itsuki and left. As Amane was about to leave as well, he gave Yuta a paper bag to help him carry all the chocolate the girls had given him earlier. That evening at home, Amane forced himself to eat Chitose's peppery disaster. As he did, Mahiru approached him and gave him a hot cup of chocolate, which helped wash away the taste of misfortune. He thanked her for the drink, but then he clocked that she had served him chocolate because of Valentine's Day. He pointed this out, only for her to become embarrassed and covered her face with a cushion before running off to her apartment. Amane, wondering what he had done wrong, found out that she had left a package with a note thanking him for everything. Inside the package was a snack called orangettes, and a note explaining that Mahiru had made them because Amane did not like sweet things. This made him briefly recall the conversation he had with Chitose as he took a bite from the snack. The next day at school, Yuta, the baddie hunter, approached Amane and thanked him for the paper bag he gave him, which surprised everyone because Amane usually only talked to Itsuki. After he had left, Amane explained to Itsuki that he had given Yuta a paper bag for his chocolates, which prompted Itsuki to tease him about carrying bags like a married man. Moving on, Amane asked if Chitose did chores like Mahiru. However, Itsuki replied and told him that she would figure it out when they got married. Itsuki then revealed that he had told his dad about his plan to marry Chitose, but his father had not approved of it. On hearing this, Amane wished him good luck, while Itsuki also wished him good luck with Mahiru, although he protested that they weren't in a relationship. That evening, Amane thanked Mahiru for the Valentine's gift and asked what she wanted in return. She told him she wanted nothing, but Amane wanted to return the favor and promised to give her an equally thoughtful gift as well, though he warned her not to get her hopes up because he was a noob in giving gifts. Mahiru then told him that she treasured the gifts he gave her, revealing that she even took care of the teddy bear he bought for her too. Suddenly, she asked him for his birthday, and when he told her, Mahiru got angry because it had passed when they were already friends, and he had not mentioned it. However, he explained that they weren't as close back then as they were now, and he didn't want to use it to distress her. Mahiru then held him and told him that they had to celebrate it this year. On hearing this, he told her it sounded like those promises delusional couples made, and immediately Mahiru folded like a lawn chair and told him that she really thought he was a decent guy. However, she clarified that she didn't have any other thoughts about him, but when he agreed with her, she became angry. Some days later, Amane went to a shop to find a white gift for Mahiru. He explained to the shopkeeper that he wanted a gift for a girl he was close to, but wasn't his girlfriend, and she gladly agreed to help him. Later that day, Mahiru was shocked to find Amane dressed like an actual human being with a clean haircut. He explained that it was white day, and he had decided to dress nicely. Seeing how distracted she was, he decided to change, but she quickly stopped him and told him that she was only just surprised. She confessed that she was used to seeing a casual Amane, but he looked just too cool right now, which made her uneasy. After she stopped him from changing into his homeless outfit, he gave her the gift and told her not to expect too much. Inside the package was a beautiful bracelet he had picked because he thought it would look good on her. She also noticed a card inside the bag which made Amane uneasy. He told her it was the second gift, called a "do anything you want" ticket, that basically made him do whatever she wanted. Mahiru was surprised at this and teased him for such creativity. She then decided to use the ticket and asked him to help her wear the bracelet. After he wore it on her, he said they looked really good on her, and as she thanked him, he realized how beautiful she looked. The next day at a cafe, Itsuki asked Amane if she liked it, but Amane ignored him, which prompted Itsuki to tease him that he was falling in love. However, Amane denied it, which made Itsuki make a bet with him that one day he would change because of Mahiru, since he was obviously in love with her. That night, when Amane arrived home, he was greeted by Mahiru and soon realized that she looked just like a mini waifu. When she asked if he was hungry, he told her he had eaten some fries with Itsuki but still had space for more. As she teased him that he would become a fatso soon, he told her that she also needed to add some weight and grabbed her arm. Suddenly, he remembered she didn't like being touched and apologized, but she told him she didn't mind him touching her. As she blushed, she quickly clarified that she didn't want random guys other than him touching her. Amane shyly agreed, but soon noticed she wasn't wearing her bracelet, so she explained that wanted to wear it only on special occasions because it was a special gift. He said he was glad she liked it, and when he left to change, bro was so far gone that he could only think of her as a waifu. Some days later, Itsuki told Amane that his father had kicked him out of the house because of his relationship with Chitose. He had to plead with Amane to allow him to stay at his house for about 3 days, and Amane agreed but told him that he would inform Mahiru first. Later that day, Mahiru welcomed him to the house and told him to make himself at home while she made dinner. As she left, left, he began to tease Amane for giving her a key. That night, as they ate dinner, Itsuki was amazed at the delicious meals that Amane had been enjoying and noticed the intense vibes between both of them. Just before going to bed, he asked Amane why he was so nice to Mahiru if they weren't dating. He then told Amane that everyone at school thought he was an antisocial weirdo, but was happy for him when he saw the way Amane interacted with Mahiru, advising Amane to try giving a relationship with her a chance. The next morning, Chitose came to see Itsuki and planned to stay over at the house as well. Immediately when they saw each other, they began playing Fondle My Bundle, which irritated Amane. Meanwhile, Mahiru noticed their romance and pointed it out to Amane, who added that they were just shameless. He then asked what she was making for lunch that day, and she told him that Chitose had requested that she make omuris. This excited Amane because he loved her egg dishes, and he praised her for it, making her blush. When Itsuki and Chitose saw their cute interaction, they were honestly puzzled as to why they weren't dating. At lunch, Chitose and Itsuki praised the meal, telling Mahiru that her meals made Gordon Ramsay look bad. However, Mahiru humbly denied this, telling them that she wasn't as good as her food tutor. When Chitose said she wished to cook meals like her, Amane shot her down and said she wouldn't be able to surpass Mahiru in her lifetime. However, Chitose didn't want to be compared to her, and even pointed out that Mahiru always acted forced and uneasy at school, but she liked the way she acted at home. Mahiru was surprised at this revelation and asked if she truly behaved like that, and then Chitose also told her that she acted like a celebrity at school. This stunned Mahiru when she heard it, but Chitose cheered her up and told her to simply act the way she did at home. She then began to tease Amane by telling Mahiru that if she acted cute all the time, she could get him to simp over her and do anything she wanted. However, Mahiru wasn't comfortable with her suggestion because she didn't want to torture the simp who was barely holding his inner demons, ready to weird her out. That night, Itsuki and Chitose tried to play matchmaker by sending cute pictures of Amane and Mahiru to each other to spark up their love. 3 days later, Itsuki left the house, leaving Amane and Mahiru alone, where she accidentally revealed that she cuddled the teddy bear in bed every night. Mahiru was embarrassed because it sounded like she was a teddy bear diddler. She grabbed his hands to make him forget what she said, but he told her he didn't mind because it sounded cute. She immediately got flustered and asked him to also spill some of his dirty secrets to make them even, going as far as threatening to call Itsuki. Suddenly, Mahiru got a text message and became sad after she read it, telling Amane that she was fine when he asked what the matter was. That evening, Amane returned home and found a woman scolding Mahiru at her door while she sadly stood there. After the woman left, he approached her and asked who the woman was. Mahiru then explained that the woman who was her mother had always hated her and had come to cut ties with her. When Amane saw her looking sad, he held her hand and asked her to stay with him, but she told him that she was fine. However, he still insisted that she stay with him. That evening, they sat on the couch holding hands like someone just died. At that moment, Mahiru decided to spill the beans about her family, so she explained that her parents did not marry for love and never intended to have kids until they made a mistake one night and conceived her. Growing up, they only supported her financially and never came home to see her. She then revealed that she was raised by the housekeeper who had taught her to cook. Despite her beauty, talents, and good grades, she was basically a piece of furniture they ignored and made it clear that they didn't want her. She added that they wanted to get divorced, but no one wanted custody of her, so they were waiting for her to finish college so she could be independent and then they could divorce. She then reminded him that the day she cried under the rain was a day her mother had called her a bastard child, and Amane, on hearing this, was surprised. He took her in his arms and comforted her, telling her that he finally understood why she always acted so restrained and uneasy in school, and then advised her to let out her sadness and grief. After getting his promise to keep her secret, Mahiru acted like a bad faucet and cried on his shoulder while he hugged her. Later that day, she thanked him for his help and pleaded that he should let her lean on him just for a while. Soon afterwards, Mahiru lamented that her fake personality as the angel in school was loved, but her real identity as Mahiru was not wanted and that nobody liked her. However, Amane disagreed, telling her that he liked her, which surprised her. He went further and assured her that he liked and cared about the real Mahiru and wanted to protect her. This confession touched her heart. However, Amane panicked and played it cool, telling her that it was not romantic love but that of a friend. Nevertheless, she was still happy that someone liked her and thanked him. Then she asked if he could do her a favor and hold her, like she was the last dollar he had in his wallet, which he gladly did. Later that day, she was embarrassed that he saw her cry like a pathetic wimp, but he told her it didn't bother him and started glazing her like honey, adding that a lot of people thought she was special, including him. That evening, they went for a walk. As they strolled, she hinted that she would love to switch classes with him, but Amane, being a blockhead, didn't get the hint, which made her angry. Suddenly, she hugged him from behind and thanked him again for being there for her, telling him that having him around made her very happy. Soon they stopped at a sakura blossom, where she told him it always made her sad because it reminded her that she was alone. But today she told him she was glad they came to that place. After school resumed for the year, the class list was reshuffled, and Mahiru ended up in Amane's class. This made Itsuki tease him that it was a sign that they were meant to be. That morning, Yuta, the Giga Chad baddie puller, came over to say hi to Amane, but everything about Yuta reminded Amane of a guy from his previous school, causing him to get depressed. Later that day at home, Mahiru noticed his behavior and asked if he was ill, but he told her he was fine. Then she told him she felt like playing with his hair and asked if she could touch it, even going as far as suggesting that he should lie in her lap. Amane was surprised, but he accepted her offer. Soon she began stroking his hair, which prompted Amane to ask what would happen if he tried something weird. Mahiru just told him that she would stomp his balls. After a while, he realized that she was doing this because she thought he was sad, and he became quiet. Mahiru also clocked this and told him the idea came from Chitose, who said that letting a man lie on one's lap was a simple way to relieve his stress. After some time, she asked him how he felt about the new classes. He told her he was glad they were in the same class, which made her happy. However, he told her that they needed to keep up the pretense that they did not know each other, and this suggestion made Mahiru upset. She then went back to stroking his hair and encouraged him to fall asleep on her thighs. Eventually, he dozed off like he had taken a tranquilizer. Later that day, he woke up and was worried that he had slept on her lap for so long. However, Mahiru told him that she had seen him sleep too, and as he was about to compare them, she grabbed his cheeks and played with them. She noticed that his mood had improved from earlier, so she told him that he could lean on her whenever he was feeling down. The next day, Amani returned home from the arcade, and Mahiru, acting like a properly trained waifu, welcomed him home and told him to freshen up while she set dinner. Later that night, Amani gave her a bunny he had won at the arcade. Mahiru couldn't hide her happiness and began hugging the doll in a Seuss way, but when she noticed he was watching, she became shy. She cutely pleaded with him to stop smiling at her. However, Amani just started patting her head. Mahiru wanted to return the favor, so she asked him to name anything he wanted from her. This blank check shocked him, but the dense glutton wasted a rare opportunity and asked for his favorite meal instead. The next day, she went shopping and cooked his special meal of eggs that he loved. After eating, he praised her cooking, telling her that her delicious food gave him mouthgasem. He even added that eating her food was the best part of his day, which shocked her. She thought he was simply glazing her, but Amani told her he was being completely honest and thanked her for everything. This got her all flustered, and as she was about to wash the dishes, he opted to do it instead and patted her on the head. However, this somehow hit the right spot, so she ran to hide shyly. The next day at school during lunch, Yuta came over and asked Amani and Itsuki if they could have lunch together. This surprised Itsuki, so when he asked why the prince wanted to hang out with them, Yuta replied that he wanted to befriend Amani. Soon they began to tease each other, however, Amani noticed Mahiru pouting at them. Later that day, he asked what the problem was. Mahiru told him that she felt jealous at how easy it was for guys to start friendships, unlike her, who found it very difficult. He told her that he could help, but the angel hanging out with a loser like him at school wouldn't be good. This angered Mahiru, who warned him again to stop putting himself down because it felt like he was mocking the people who chose to like him, adding that he needed to have bigger balls. However, Amani was still worried about people finding out how close they were, but Mahiru suggested that they take it one step at a time. The next day at school, Mahiru shocked everyone by joining Amani's group during a class cooking activity. That afternoon, Chitose made fun of how Amani looked when Mahiru approached them in class. Mahiru apologized for the trouble, but Itsuki began to tease Amani, so Mahiru had to reveal that she felt very envious of their relationship. Soon, they all began to make fun of Amani's cooking skills, and when he tried to get them to make a plan for the cooking event, they just teased him harder. Later at the cooking workshop, Chitose was surprised that Amani could actually cook. Just as she was about to tease them, Mahiru told her to stop her yappings and focus on cooking. When they were done cooking, they decided to write their report before eating the meal, but some careless classmates were also playing around nearby. One of them accidentally stumbled while carrying a pan of hot sizzling oil, losing his balance and sending the burning liquid flying straight toward Mahiru. Luckily, Amani reacted like the Flash and pulled her out of harm's way just before she became a human barbecue. After checking to ensure that she was completely unharmed, Amani turned on the careless guys, fiercely scolding them and warning them that the kitchen wasn't a playground. Afterwards, Chitose went on about how Amani looked so cool when he rescued Mahiru, which was unusual for him. In his defense, he told her he had to do it, so Mahiru wouldn't look like Prince Zuko. That night at home, Mahiru said she was trying her best to get closer to him at school. However, Amani told her he was already getting jealous stares because he rescued her recently. Mahiru was saddened when she heard this, but he told her he won't abandon her or make her lonely because of a small setback, and then he patted her head to comfort her. With that, Mahiru got more determined to get together in school, despite what people thought. Meanwhile, Amane, on the other hand, said nothing and just patted her head. A few days later, Amane and Mahiru were discussing future holiday plans. Mahiru didn't know how to spend hers, so she asked him if he was busy, and when he said no, she used the wish ticket he gave her to ask for one day of his time during the holidays. She explained that she wanted him to accompany her to shop, and shyly asked if he could help her carry her bags. Amane agreed, but when he asked where they'd go, he found out she hadn't chosen a place yet. However, Mahiru insisted that they had to go to a place where they could both have fun. As she held his clothes, Amane had a fun idea, but after getting her promise that she wouldn't laugh, he suggested a cat cafe. Mahiru accepted the idea and added that they could go to the arcade or shopping afterwards, and both were highly eager for the upcoming date. The next day, Chitose came over to receive cooking lessons from Mahiru. However, Amane warned her not to spike the food with any weird stuff like she normally does. He watched them cook for a while and eventually dozed off. When he woke up, he found himself leaning on Mahiru's neck. She then explained that he began leaning on her as soon as she sat down, for which he apologized. When Chitose saw this, began to tease them and asked when they started addressing each other by their first names. Amane ignored the question and demanded to know if she had done any pranks while he slept, but she mischievously denied it. Of course, Amane didn't believe her, so he asked Mahiru for confirmation. Mahiru then vouched that she didn't pull any pranks or spike the food while he slept. Just before eating the meal they had cooked, Amane asked again, but this time Mahiru assured him that she had tasted the meal herself. His persistence made Chitose annoyed, and she kept saying she had cooked the meal normally. After they had eaten, Chitose left them to visit Itsuki, during which Mahiru confessed that although they hadn't pranked him, she had squeezed his cheeks while he slept. At first, Amane wasn't bothered, but then she added that she had also ruffled his hair because he looked too cute while he slept. He decided to repay her and stroked her cheeks, and as he did, she reminded him that they were going out the next day. Afterwards, she asked him if he liked lolicons or thick melon body types. Bro didn't fall for the bait, and he told her that he just liked her the way she was. The next day, Amane was surprised at Mahiru's new hairstyle. When he said he liked it, she told him she did it so the cats wouldn't pull her hair. She was worried she overdid it, but Amane assured her that it was perfect. That afternoon at the cat cafe, Mahiru tried to befriend a cat called Silk, who just sniffed her hand and bolted out of there. This saddened her, but Amane told her that the cat was probably offended by the smell of onions on her hand. Afterwards, they headed to the cafe to drink some coffee, but when she saw the beautiful cat design on the drinks, she refused to drink it, saying it was too cute. Amane just laughed at her, and when she finally drank, he took a picture of her having a cream mustache and told her she looked too cute. Later, a cat hopped on her lap, and she played with it. She noticed the cat from earlier on Amane's lap and asked how he had befriended it. He told her that the cat reminded him of her, that when they first met, she was very depressed and sad, but now she was very free and very fun to have around. On hearing this, Mahiru shyly complained about being compared to a cat, but Amane just laughed it up and apologized. Later that day, they went to a shopping mall and held hands as they walked. They soon arrived at a clothing store where Amane asked if she could try on a dress. While she was inside, two shawties pulled up and asked if he wanted to see some plot, but he declined the offer. Just then, Mahiru appeared and took him away by the arm, while the rejected baddies looked at them as they walked away. They later headed to the arcade where Mahiru managed to win a doll that looked like a replica of Silk and gave it to him as a gift, surprising Amane. Just then, Mahiru was spotted by Yuta, the lady killer. He approached her, thinking that she was on a date with her boyfriend, and suddenly he recognized Amane. However, she told him that they weren't dating, which upset Amane. She then explained that they were just neighbors who went to the mall together. After promising her that he wouldn't tell anyone that he saw them, Yuta left them alone. Amane then apologized to Mahiru for Yuta finding out, but she told him it was no one's fault, and that Yuta was quite understanding. Amane agreed with her, telling her that as he got to know him, he realized that he was quite cool and saw why he was so popular. Mahiru also told Amane that he was cool as well, but he denied the statement, which saddened her. She then asked him why he always thought so low of himself, adding that she would glaze him until he realized he was actually a cool person too, making him beg her to stop. Amane, on hearing this, just held her hand, smiled, and thanked her. The next day, at a karaoke bar, Yuta asked Amane what his true relationship with Mahiru was because they seemed closer than friends. Itsuki then spilled the beans, revealing that Mahiru was a waifu in training who cooked and cleaned after Amane, but Amane denied this and stated they just shared meals together. However, Yuta pointed out that girls don't cook for guys that they don't like or even stay in their houses. He then asked Amane if he actually liked Mahiru, but he denied his feelings as usual. Later that day, when he got home, he met Mahiru and told her that Yuta had bugged him all day with questions. When he asked her why she hid her phone when he came in, she told him that his mother had sent her some pictures of him as a kid when they spoke on the phone. Worried that his mother had sent the embarrassing ones, Amane demanded to see them, but she hid her phone behind her. While he tried to get it, he fell on top of her, but instead of starting a baby-making session, he just pinched her cheeks. This disappointed Mahiru, who was upset at that steamy buildup, but Amane just apologized, telling her that he really just wanted to see the pictures. The starved girl then called him a dunce because she wanted him to read her plot material. After some days, Mahiru asked Amane what his plans were for Mother's Day. He told her he intended to send his mother some flowers, but would have done more if he were at home with them. Mahiru then curiously asked why his parents would allow him to live elsewhere when he couldn't do simple house chores. Amane told her that there were many reasons why he did not want to stay at home, but told her to forget about it and patted her head, telling her he just wanted to move away from some bad guys. However, Mahiru calls cap on this story, telling him it was okay not to tell her the truth, but she could see him hurting, and it was hard on her to witness him like this. He then decided to tell her the truth, but warned her that it was an unpleasant story. He told her that a while back, when he lived with his parents, he was very innocent and naive, like a big meloned girl with 2 brain cells, and people easily took advantage of him. One day, he had overheard his own close friends calling him a loser and telling each other that he was a halfwit who was only good as a disposable ATM. However, when he had approached them and confronted them about their weird joke, they doubled down, telling him that he was only good as a cash cow. This stunned him, and he started doubting everyone who called him their friend. When he saw he couldn't trust anyone anymore, he decided to leave the city. After hearing this, Mahiru wished she had been there with him so she could punch their brains out. She then consoled him, telling him that she would be there for him like he was for her when her mother came. She added that she would pamper him as much as she could. Amane tried to act tough, but she pulled him to her soft chesticles and told him that he could be vulnerable with her. As she hugged him, she began to remember how he had helped her from time to time and told him it was her turn to help him now. After the emotional soap opera, Amane told her that, as a man, he didn't want to be hugging her skirts anytime he felt sad, but she called him a dummy because she would never treat anyone like him. As she turned to walk away, he suddenly hugged her from behind and apologized for being selfish. She told him that forcing out his emotions like that was her being selfish too, but he didn't understand. So she told him that he would soon understand. With that, she broke the embrace and went to the kitchen while he sat and smiled. thinking they were both dummies. Later that morning, Amane decided to go for a run, hoping some small exercise would bring his balls back after that emotional roller coaster he had just experienced with Mahiru. The next day at school, Amane overheard some girls asking Mahiru about the rumors of her dating a guy at the mall. Soon, the entire class was quietly waiting for her to confirm if she was dating. However, she shocked the class when she told the girls that the guy at the mall was just a friend, but she had strong feelings for him. Later that day at home, she told Amane that she meant what she said, confessing that he meant more to her than anyone alive and wishing he would have some self-confidence too. Amane was worried that people would think they were dating if they saw them together, but she assured him that everything would work out if they dropped hints to people little by little. When he told her he had begun training to look sharper and more manly, she was shocked because he usually had a nonchalant and laid-back personality. Mahiru then offered to pamper him, giving him a blank check to ask her for anything, but also admitted that she would need a favor from him in return. When he curiously asked what favor she wanted from him, Mahiru was too shy to say it, but eventually asked him to pat her head because she liked it when he touched her. That night, he had a dream that Mahiru had stripped off her plots, and when she kissed him, he woke up. However, he was disappointed that his wet cannon had fired several times during the dream and ruined his PJS. That morning at school, Chitose noticed he was looking drained, and when she asked if he was alright, he told her that he was exhausted from running that morning. Mahiru overheard the conversation and advised that he should rest after school, but Amane, still feeling guilty, hastily told her he was fine. That afternoon at home, she asked Amane if she had offended him. He told her no and apologized for acting awkwardly recently. Then, when she asked why he had been so cold and if he no longer liked her, he began to stutter and finally told her he was going through some private stuff in his head. After she asked for specific details, he eventually told her about the dream, but she kept asking about the positions and the kiss, which cringed him out because she wasn't bothered about it. Mahiru then teased him, telling him that he was easily the most innocent virgin she knew and was a true gentleman to her. As they both confessed that they had never felt this close to another person, Amane became worried that his cannon would fire again and asked her not to look at him. Instead, she sat with her back to him and told him that was his punishment for ignoring her. A few days later, the school had released a test schedule and Amane informed Mahiru that he wanted to hold a study group with their friends. She offered to cook for the activity, but also disclosed that earlier, Chitose had pleaded with her for help in her studies, so she would be studying with them the next day. Amane then confided in Mahiru that his goal was to get into the top 10 best students this time. However, Mahiru decided to sweeten the deal, telling him she would do whatever he wanted if he achieved the top 10. This got him flustered, and he said his first wish would be to lie on her lap. Later that day, the gang showed up for the study group, and when they entered the house, they were stunned. They explained to Amane that Mahiru looked like a natural part of his house. After the study group and everyone had left, Mahiru gave Amane a cup of hot cocoa and played with his lips, telling him that she would spoil him rotten. At that point, he realized that his whole body would soon be unable to function without her. A few days after the test, Amane had successfully secured the 6th position and remembered Mahiru's promise to grant him any wish if he reached the top 10. Meanwhile, she had taken first places and had absolutely no plans to spoil herself. Later that day, he asked her if she wanted anything from him, but she simply told him to help her with her cooking. Amane was unsatisfied and asked for something more challenging, but she told him she was content and only had one true wish, and that was something only she could do for herself. After cooking, she kept her promise and offered her thighs to him for a headrest. Amane began to have second thoughts and told her that his wish had been impulsive, but she told him that she didn't mind and invited him again. This time, he accepted the snoo-snoo, and as he lay on her thighs, she began to clean his ear. When she requested to clean his other ear, he declined because rolling over would mean facing her plot armor directly. When she was done, she gave him a relaxing hair massage that made him fall asleep, and when he woke up, Mahiru had fallen asleep as well. He tried to wake her up because it had gotten late, and the next day was a school day. Despite shaking her harder than a broken vending machine, she remained fast asleep. In the end, he decided to carry her back to her apartment. At her apartment, he kept the lights off and took her straight to her bedroom. When he laid her on the bed, she opened her eyes briefly and he told her he would return her key the next day. Just then, she patted the bed next to her, inviting him to lie down right beside her. However, he knew she was half asleep and instead placed her favorite teddy bear beside her to keep her company before leaving the room. The next day, an embarrassed Mahiru knocked at his door and asked him if he had seen a framed picture beside her bed. Amane hadn't seen any and worried that he might have mistakenly knocked it over, but she told him that wasn't the case and that he should just forget she had asked. He told her he didn't look around much, but he did remember the stuffed toys he had given her, and then maliciously reminded her that she had invited him to bed. This caused Mahiru to go into cringe overload as she vehemently told him she wasn't a tramp who was down bad. Amane then warned her to be careful of how she slept, because not all guys were like him, and someone else might try to pluck her sacred apple. However, she turned it back on him and teased him because he easily fell asleep on her lap, warning him that if he wasn't careful, she might take pictures of him sleeping. Amane tried to explain that the consequences for each of them were entirely different, but she told him that she understood and blamed him for not paying attention. Confused, he wondered what attention she was even talking about. Some days later, Mahiru came to pay Amane a visit, wearing her summer school uniform, and asked what he thought about it. When Amane saw how she looked with her thighs fully revealed, he immediately told her she couldn't go out like that. Mahiru flared up because she thought he was saying her thighs were ugly, but he explained that he just didn't want random guys drooling over her. However, she got mad again because she wanted him to drool over her thighs too, before suddenly smiling and revealing she had just been teasing him. This time, Amani flared up and asked her if she had come over just to tease him with her body. She then pointed out that apparently he wasn't moved by her exposed thighs, and she had done this as a test to check if he liked her body. She asked him again how she looked, and he finally admitted that she looked really good. She then thanked him and revealed he was the first person to see her in the uniform. At school that day, the boys in the class were absolutely stunned by the summer uniform Mahiru wore, which made Amane low-key jealous. Later that day, while everyone was heading home, Yuta invited Amani to hang out, but on their way, they ran into Mahiru, who needed some help with some tasks, so they decided to assist her. Just as they were helping her, they overheard some jealous girls nearby calling Mahiru a pick-me girl. That night at home, Amani was still furious about the comments, but Mahiru told him that it was normal for her, pointing out that some girls hated her simply because most guys liked her. Amani was still bothered and worried that girls from Yuta's fan club might target her too. However, she told Amani that Yuta wasn't her type at all, and was actually in a similar position to her when it came to unwanted attention. At that point, Amani revealed that he liked Mahiru's real personality and not the school's angel persona, because the real Mahiru was way cuter and more authentic. Mahiru accused him of trying to be cheesy, but he shot back that she started it first and was always teasing him with her body. Flustered, she began playfully hitting him. Then she softly told him she was tired of her angel persona, which always forced her to try to get everyone to like her. She said she wanted to change because being perfect all the time was honestly exhausting. Suddenly, Amani felt a surge of jealousy because if the other guys saw this genuine side of Mahiru, they would fall for her instantly and take her away from him. When he told her this, she just smiled warmly and told him that he looked incredibly cute at that moment. She then doubled down and told him that although he couldn't see it himself, he was easily the coolest and cutest guy in her life. After Mahiru had blown smoke up his butt, Amani was so touched that he almost kissed her, but restrained himself, warning her that next time he would kiss her lips if she ever talked to him like that. However, she quickly kissed him on the cheek and ran away, just like his last brain cell, leaving him absolutely stunned. The next day at school, Mahiru was talking about the races they would run at the upcoming track event when Amani walked into the classroom. He ended up saying hello to everyone but was too shy to talk to Mahiru, an observation that Itsuki immediately noted. Later that day, he asked Amani if they were fighting, but Amani told him they weren't fighting, just keeping their distance. Yuta then asked him why he hadn't made a move on Mahiru yet, which prompted Amani to tell them that he wanted to be sure that Mahiru liked him, so it would give him confidence. Soon he began to put himself down, saying he wasn't as handsome as Yuta or as rich as Itsuki for Mahiru to date him. They told him to do whatever he liked but warned him that his sob story of being a wimp and not confessing to Mahiru was getting stale. Later that day, Mahiru apologized for running off after dinner and sat beside him, leaving him to awkwardly bring up the kiss from earlier. She told him she had only done it to get back at him for mercilessly teasing her earlier. The next day after dinner, Amani asked Mahiru what race she picked for the track event. She told him that she chose the relay and scavenger events, while he told her he chose the bag toss and scavenger race to avoid a physical workout. Later, as they ate ice cream, he confided in her that he hated being forced to participate in track activities. Mahiru then teased him that he just didn't want to put in effort, though she still told him to give his best at the sports events. Soon, he noticed she was eyeballing his ice cream and opted to feed her a spoonful, and after she ate it, she praised the ice cream flavor. Amani reflexively opted to feed her another one without thinking, and soon he handed everything over to her to prevent another awkward moment. The next day at the sports event, Amani watched the races and asked Yuta why Chitose was representing her team instead of an actual runner. Yuta revealed that Chitose had actually been on the track team, but had left because of some drama between her and a senior who had feelings for her. After her race, Chitose came to say hello to them and then informed Amani that she was in charge of his scavenger race. This information left Amani worried about what prank she might pull. Soon the race began, and everyone had to pick someone who matched their list. Mahiru picked Amane, and he picked her as well because they both matched, though they didn't know the contents of each other's lists. As they ran towards the finish line, Mahiru held his hand, sparking an immediate outburst from the onlookers. After beating the race, Chitose invited them to read what was on their cards. On Amane's list were the words, "A beautiful woman," and on Mahiru's list were the words, "Someone dear to me." This revelation completely stunned Amani and everyone at the stadium as they realized what it meant. That afternoon, Amani was surrounded by angry Mahiru Simpson goons who demanded that he tell them how he pulled their angel. They pointed out that they had nothing in common and had barely even communicated at school. However, Amani revealed that they were neighbors and were quite close, but were not dating, even though the feeling was there. Just as they were grilling him, Mahiru walked in and pleaded with them to leave him alone. When one of them asked why she had chosen a pathetic, good-for-nothing loser like Amani, she defended him, asking what was wrong with her choice. Then she told them that they were all shallow fools who only cared for appearances and had no right to tell her who to date. Soon she began to glaze Amani and called him the handsome and perfect gentleman who respected and cared for her. On hearing this, the guys apologized to Mahiru and left them alone. That evening at the apartment, Mahiru came over and apologized for putting him on the spot with the scavenger race. This prompted Amani to apologize for being a coward and not acknowledging her feelings even when they were so obvious. Then he pulled her into his arms and confessed that he had fallen in love with her, recounting how he originally wanted to just be friends. friends. He soon discovered that he wanted more, though he was scared that she would reject him because she was so cool and popular. Mihiru agreed, admitting that she was scared that he wouldn't like her as well. Just then, Amane told her he would do anything to be with her and asked her to go out with him, promising to make her happy for as long as he humanly could, which finally broke through all her defenses as she eagerly accepted his confession. Thank you for watching. Personally, I think Amane is trash, and Mihiru deserves to be with someone like Yuta, but that's my opinion. Feel free to comment yours also. Don't forget to like and subscribe.